everybody. My name is Susan Gray, and I am here with the Canadian Chinese Times. I have the honor and privilege right now to interview one of the mayoral candidates. In fact, the Miss Karen Leibovici.
Right.
She's actually here, and I'm really, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.
It's great to be here.
Oh, great. Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you again, and I'd like you to just give a little bit of a background about, how did you get into politics? I know you've been here for quite a while, so.
Sure. Well, I got into politics to make a difference. And as you said, I've been involved in politics for a long time, about 20 years now.
Wow.
I was a member of the Legislative Assembly for 8 years, and I'm in my 12th year as a city councillor right now.
Oh, wow. What did you do? Like, how did you get into it? What was the...
Well, sometimes it's, right place, right time. And just to go back a little bit more, I started off as a social worker. And I've also been a negotiator for both the union as well as for management. So I've sat on both sides of the bargaining table, and I've dealt with many personnel issues as well, so I understand that side of the business very well. Originally, I'm from Montreal, and my husband and I moved to Edmonton 33 years ago. 33 and we came for a bit of an adventure.
Oh, wow.
We were coming for about 2 years, and we're here right now. As I said, for 33 years. Obviously, Edmonton is our home, and it's such a fabulous place to live in. Oh. So our son is 26 years old. He's a civil engineer, University of Alberta grad, and he's made a decision to live here in Edmonton as well.
So you love Edmonton, right?
We love Edmonton.
That's
yes,
good.
This is our home for sure.
That's important,
yes.
Right? That's very important. So let's start with some of the questions. I'm going to talk a little bit about development, and hopefully I can get through all of these questions for you. So what's your position in regards to new development in the city?
It really is a question of balance. We have to grow both inwards as well as grow outwards. Mm-hmm. We are surrounded in a region by 24 municipalities. If we don't provide housing choice within Edmonton and housing choice that's affordable as well, people will move outside of the city. Mm-hmm. I believe that we should be able to provide the housing choice within our city boundaries. And when you look at the balance part of the equation, it's important to have infills, and that's one of the reasons that I supported the Arena and Entertainment District. I want to see those parking lots in the downtown area developed. I also supported the closing down of the municipal airport. Blatchford development is going to provide us with what we're looking for, a minimum of 25% infill within the city boundaries and within the inner core. In our greenfield areas, we're actually building to a higher density than we've ever built before. 30 to 50% of all the housing that's being built in the new areas is multiple family dwellings. So that is much higher density than anything that you'll see being built in the region right now as well. We believe in responsible urban growth, and that's what Edmonton is about.
And I think that's very important. I know a lot of people are very interested in where we're going and where the future of Edmonton is happening. So what's your vision for the city of Edmonton in the next, let's say, 5, 10, or 15 years?
Well, in the next 5, 10, or 15 years,
I know that's
the vision is very much the same. To be a welcoming city, a safe city, a caring city, to be a prosperous city, a city that people come to from within Canada as well as worldwide to live, work, play, to prosper, and to invest. That's what I believe our city is going to remain and move forward within the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. It's really important that we keep our momentum. Mm-hmm. Everywhere you go, you feel the excitement when you're talking to people. And the reason that I'm running for mayor is that I want to make sure that we keep the momentum going that we have in the city. We have many projects that are on the books. I talked a little bit earlier about the arena, Blatchford Field, development. At the end of the day, if it's only words on a piece of paper, there's not much that's going to happen. So we have to get the projects in the ground and the shovel in the ground and make sure that we're developing those projects.
Do you know exactly what you plan to do and how you plan to do everything that you just said?
Well, as I said, we've got a lot on the books, but sometimes we're very slow in how we move forward.
Right.
My track record is one of being a doer. I've got lots of experience. I have leadership ability, proven track record, and I want to see that these projects are fast-tracked. Recently, I put forward an idea around red tape elimination commission, because what I've been hearing from small, medium-sized business owners, as well as from the development industry, is that sometimes the best projects end up on someone's desk. When you look at some of our infill projects that we had talked about as being very important, they are sometimes very creative projects that don't quite fit the mold. They sit on someone's desk. If we're looking at ensuring that those high-rises in the downtown are going to be built, we can't have them sitting on someone's desk. Mm-hmm. And the idea of the Red Tape Elimination Commission is so that we can be able to move forward quickly with a minimum amount of barriers.
Oh, can you tell me more about that? Like, how do you mean? Like,
well, as I said, right now there's small, medium-sized business owners that have come to me and have said, Karen, it's a very simple application. Planning says it's okay, but transportation and drainage, it's sitting on someone's desk. Mm-hmm. 3 months to wait for a permit, much too long. Need to have perhaps a one-stop shop, but what we need to first be able to do is identify the barriers and make sure that we remove those barriers. Sometimes the best thing that a government body can do for business is to get out of the way of business.
Exactly, and I think business owners will really appreciate that. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. So, kudos to you.
Thank you.
So, what is your plan to? So, here's another question. Okay, this is a business question. What do you plan to do to encourage development within the Edmonton Energy and Technology Park, specifically?
And that's the northeast area that we put a lot of effort into, and it's a slow process, and we need to, I believe, sit down with those enterprises that are interested in becoming involved with the park, and look at how we can encourage them to set up in the park. We need to develop our industrial base. We need to develop our industrial tax base. And that's one of the reasons that we have opened up that northeast area. And I know that there are some issues and difficulties that we need to work around, and as mayor I plan to bring in all the stakeholders and figure out how we're going to move forward on this particular agenda item. The role of the mayor is one of facilitator. It's one of trying to remove some of the barriers, the blockages to good ideas, and that industrial park is a good idea. As I said, it's been a slow time coming, and we need to push forward on it.
Because I know a lot of people are looking at that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and we need to diversify our tax base as well, and that's one way to do that, is to ensure that we have a strong industrial tax base. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those areas that can provide that to us.
Very good. Well, here's a nice question for you about revenue and expenditures.
Sure.
What's your policy on taxes and taxation?
My policy is that we need to be, of course, reasonable.
Yes.
But we also need to recognize that the city has a lot of responsibilities. When you look at the services that we provide, mm-hmm. Services you rely on and your viewers rely on a daily basis, from police services to firefighters to transit operators to the parks people to the guys that are fixing the roadways. Those are all the services that we need on a daily basis, and we need to ensure that the services are provided in a timely fashion. On the other hand, I've also been called a fiscal hawk, because I want to ensure that your people's hard-earned tax dollars are being utilized effectively and efficiently. I recently proposed that what we set up as a finance committee. We're one of the few major cities in Canada that doesn't have a finance committee. Some call them a budget committee, some call them a priorities committee, where we as a council, and the mayor of course is part of that, reviews the budget on a regular basis. And if you look at our neighbor to the south, they have a priorities and finance committee, and they review the budget monthly.
So that's where you're heading to.
We only review it once in a while, and we're provided with recommendations. And basically, out of a $1.5 billion budget, we're looking at a very small portion of it. So it's an idea that I think that its time has come.
Gotcha. So what's your opinion on these fiscal expenditures planned for the city? What is it exactly?
Well, my idea is that we need to be fiscally responsible. We need to be able to prove to Edmontonians that they're getting value for their tax dollar. And I believe there's a bit of a disconnect right now where people don't see that. And we see that in some of the issues that are coming up in the campaign when people are concerned about the state of their roads. They're worried about what the snow removal will look like this coming winter. And what we need to do is to reassure Edmontonians that we're utilizing the tax dollars in an appropriate fashion.
Oh, I know everybody's pointing that out, especially with everybody with the campaigns and everything. So,
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about your favorite topic, the arena.
Okay, I don't know if it's my favorite topic, but
it seems to be coming up a lot. I guess the question is, okay, first of all, maybe state your position again for everybody who's watching, and as well as, is it in the best interest of the city and so forth? If you could address that.
Sure. Well, I'm the only one of the mayoral candidates that has voted for the Arena and Entertainment District from day one. I did so because I believe that it was important as a catalyst project, as one of those transformational projects, to revitalize our downtown, to make our downtown more lively. We talk about Edmonton becoming a cosmopolitan city.
Right.
Well, you can't become a cosmopolitan city if you don't have a vibrant downtown. I talked a little bit earlier about those vacant parking lots. Well, that's not good for our tax base either, to have vacant parking lots.
Right.
And if we want to ensure that we have more people living in our downtown, so our downtown does become more vibrant, you need to have a reason to be downtown. And the arena is a good reason to be downtown when it's utilized most of the year for various functions. It is not just for hockey. Hockey is played in it about half of the time. The other half of the usage of the arena is for concerts and exhibitions and all kinds of different events that many people go to.
Well, I think it's important that we have that vibrancy in the city.
Absolutely.
What would you say, what are your plans to make this into a first-class city like say Vancouver or Toronto? Like, I see Edmonton going that way. Do you believe that in everything that we're doing right now?
Well, and that's what I mean by keeping our momentum going.
Yeah.
And we still have a ways to go to be recognized nationally and internationally, the same way a Vancouver is and a Toronto is. And last year I had the opportunity to travel worldwide as well as across Canada. I was president of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, which is an organization that is over 100 years old, represents communities from Toronto to small communities of 100 residents. 2,000 municipalities are members of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and we represent 90% of the Canadian population.
Oh, wow.
So it's an organization that when we talk to the federal government, they're willing to sit down with us and chat about how important municipalities are to the country. In my travels, nationally and internationally, especially internationally, I'd say, well, I'm the president and I'm from Edmonton, and people would kind of go, you mean you're close to Toronto? And I'd say, no.
Yeah,
No,
sometimes they don't know
same
what
country,
Edmonton is.
but not close to Toronto.
Exactly.
And that's part of what we need to do, is we need to be better promoters of our city. But it's not just the council that will do that. The mayor is obviously a spokesperson for the city. But we need to get the private sector, the post-secondary institutions, everyone on the same page. So in our back pocket, when people say, so, you know, where are you and what is Edmonton about? We can say that we're a great city. We're a booming city. We have over 20,000 people a year that come into the city on an annual basis, and it's projected, I believe, to be almost 40,000 next year.
Wow.
So we've got a lot of people moving into the city, and they're coming here because of what we offer. We offer great amenities, great quality of life. It's an affordable city.
Right.
And it's a city that has great arts and culture as well. So this is the place to be. It's happening right here in Edmonton.
Oh, for sure. Well, since you talked about arts and culture, we do have some questions about that.
Sure.
I guess, tell us your view on the arts. What do you plan to do with the arts?
I've been very supportive of a plan that was approved by council. It's called the Art of Living, and it's a 10-year plan. And it has various ideas within that plan with distinct timelines and goals, and we know how much it'll cost as well. It's a well thought out plan that the Arts Council is part of, and I believe that arts is an economic driver. It's an area where if we want to attract people to come to Edmonton, they want to know what's our theater life like, what's the music scene like. What can they expect from the different areas that they might be interested in terms of arts. And as well, what we need to also know is that it provides jobs.
Yes.
And it's something I believe that we need to support. As part of that, we've also reached out to the film industry, and council has supported Lionsgate that have come to Edmonton as well to have some films produced here, as well as some TV shows. It's a good sector, and it's a sector based on knowledge as well. And I believe it's an industry that we can do well in the future.
I think that's really good, because I know with the entertainment industry and actors, they would move to, let's say, Toronto or Vancouver,
Exactly.
because that was where all the work is, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
the fact that you are doing that here in Alberta, I think that's going to keep your home talent here, right? So.
Oh, absolutely. And when you look at SCTV, for instance, 20 years, 30 years ago,
An
it
excellent
started
show.
here.
Right, exactly.
If you look at the fact that we were the jazz capital many years ago, it started here as well. The Fringe Festival. Where did it start? And yet we get very little credit for that, and that's again part of promoting Edmonton and holding on to what we are, what we're famous for, but somehow nobody knows about it.
Right.
Some of us know about the great things that have happened here, but at the end of the day, if we're the only ones, then perhaps we're only famous to ourselves, but not to anyone else.
Exactly. Oh, this is good to know. Okay, so I'm going to move to another question here for you. It's regarding transportation and infrastructure.
Mhm.
So the question is, what is your position on infrastructure spending? So on roads, mass transit, including LRT expansion. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Well, the position is those are items that we need, and we don't have a big pot of money sitting somewhere to.
You don't? You don't have
That's
any money?
no.
No.
Unfortunately, we don't have the $1 billion+ sitting in a bank account somewhere
Right.
to pay cash for an LRT system. And much like people generally don't pay cash for their homes, they take out a mortgage. We have debt that we take out to build those big projects, the LRT. If you look at the recreation centers, we've built the libraries, we've built some of our the bridges that we've had to fix over time, the white mud and the changes that were made on the white mud.
Right.
We have to borrow for that. But the good news is that in fact we're nowhere close to what our borrowing limit is.
That's a good thing.
And the other part of that good news is we know how we're paying for the debt that we're undertaking. It's not as if we're undertaking debt and we're trying to figure out where the dollars are going to come from to pay for that debt. We know from what sources that debt will come from.
So are you envisioning that we're going to be putting more into that so that we can make this into a, you know, more vibrant city, like you said at the
We have,
beginning?
we have a lot of projects on the go right now, and
Anything-
over the last 9 years, we've approved a lot of projects,
Right.
but many of them haven't even started. There may be, you know, one or two others that we will consider, but we need to finish what we haven't even started,
Right, right.
and move forward. But as we're doing that, we'll also look at what else the city needs for the future. These are not short-term projects. When we're building an LRT system, it's not for the next 3 years. It's
Right.
for the next 30 to 40 to 50 years.
Got that. Is there anything that's in the forefront that you see yourself working on right away, or is it gonna?
Well, in the forefront is we have to get the arena built,
Yes.
and we have to make sure that we have the funding in place for the LRT, because all of the funding is not in place. And as I said, unless we know where that funding is, we don't start building. So we need to make sure that we have the dollars in place, the full amount for the LRT system.
Got it. Okay. Let's go to homelessness and disadvantaged people.
Sure.
So, what's your plan for that exactly? I know there's projects going on. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. I was the mayor's designate on the commission that made the recommendations for the 10-year plan to eliminate homelessness. And the first principle of that plan is that if you're going to work with individuals who are homeless, they need to have a roof over their heads.
Right.
And over the last, I'd say I think 4 years since that plan has been put in place, we've managed to house over 3,000 people, which is pretty significant when you look at it. And there's more plans that are ongoing to work with those who, for whatever reason, don't have a home to go to. So the plan is working very, very well. We also have another initiative that I was involved with around affordable housing. And when I was leading that, we had a plan to have 5,000 units of affordable housing available. And we achieved that goal. So we're moving along a path of helping those who, as I said, for whatever reason, are unable to maintain a home.
Which I think is a really good thing. Now, there's also people that are opposed, right, in the different areas. I know in our area, in the Terwilliger area, there was that, you know, debate. Or
Right.
how do you guys just fluff it off, or what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think the biggest issue with that is the lack of communication. I understand it was in the works for almost 3 years, but it was only in the last few months that anyone was made aware of it. When we get involved at the city with projects that are development projects, whether it's a zoning application or rezoning, we have a lot of upfront communications with the community. This was a project that was led through the province and Homeward Trust, I believe, as well as the agency that's part of that. And the city wasn't involved with it. So I think had we been involved, I would like to believe that we would have undertaken the whole process very differently and had that upfront communication with the community to have them understand what was being put in place, and for us to understand as well what the concerns were and address those concerns.
Well, I think it's important because everybody wants to know ahead, and when things
Absolutely.
happen, it's just right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So, okay, let's talk about public education.
Okay.
I know like there's a lot of growth coming in here to Edmonton and in the outskirts, and what's your position on that? Because a lot of schools are overloaded with students, and what's going on
Right,
with that?
right.
Exactly.
Well, I believe we need to work closer with the school trustees because they're responsible for schools deciding where they go, which ones stay open, which ones close, where schools are built. And I would like to see us have more regular meetings with the school trustees, because right now we don't, with the public school board as well as a separate school board. And perhaps also bring in the Minister of Education so we can have an understanding as well as to what their priorities are. But I believe that it's something we need to do on a more regular basis.
Well, it's good. I guess it's a communication thing, right, with everybody, at all levels.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's where I can bring some value as the mayor as well. I've had really good relationships with the provincial government. I have good relationships with our region as well. And I also have good relationships with the federal government on a go-forward basis. We're going to need those good relationships because what we need to do is to ensure that, and I've said this before about Edmonton being prosperous.
Yes.
One of the ways we'll achieve that is to be able to work with the provincial and federal governments to ensure that they invest back into Edmonton as well, whether it's for infrastructure or looking at other sources of financing. We need a better share of tax revenues than we're getting right now, and that'll come with discussions with the provincial government.
Got that. Crime. Edmonton has they have a reputation as a high crime city. What are your plans for that? What can we do?
You know, we had a spike about 2 or 3 years ago in regards to violent crime, and we've seen a steady downturn in that. In fact, if you look at most of the crime indicators, and the Police Commission puts out a report every year, you'll see that we are actually decreasing in terms of our crime levels.
Oh, okay.
We have an organization called REACH, which is working with many different organizations within the city, with the police service, with many of the agencies that are involved in helping to keep youth occupied, to help to prevent crime activities, criminal activities. And that organization has done some fabulous work. So we're working on the prevention side,
Right.
of trying to engage youth so that there are other avenues for them other than crime. Again, becoming involved in criminal activities or becoming involved with gangs. And I would say that we're very successful because we're seeing those crime rates decrease.
Very good. Okay, so I really want to, I'm going to ask you a question now in regards to this whole campaign. What gives you, or not gives you, what are your strengths? How do you think, why should we vote for you? I want you to tell me really now, what's going to make you different from all the other candidates?
What's going to make me, or what makes me different?
Yeah, what makes you different? Yeah.
What
makes you different?
Me different?
Yeah.
Is that I have the ability to action plans. There are many visions, there are going to be many promises in the campaign that are made.
Yes.
At the end of the day, what Edmontonians deserve is someone who can actually make it happen. I have the experience, I have the leadership record to be able to bring together a group. I've done it in many different areas of my past work experiences. We're going to need to bring council together because with a 50% turnover on council, a new mayor, if council cannot work together, then it's going to be very divisive and very difficult to make those hard decisions that a council makes. I'm known to be someone who uses common sense. I'm known to be someone who is very practical in the approach that I take to issues. I'm a good listener. I'm an active listener. And again, my track record points to being able to move an agenda forward. That's what we need in a mayor. We need someone who can get things done, not someone who is going to talk about what they're doing, and not someone either who is only looking at one side of an issue. We need balance in the mayor's chair, and I would say that I am that balanced individual, the person who walks the talk that this city needs.
And that's where you come in with all your experience, your leadership.
Absolutely.
And getting things done.
Yes,
That pretty
that's
well
it.
narrows it down.
That narrows it down, absolutely.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time and effort. I know you're very, very busy, and with the whole campaign, I think it's just, I think everybody needs to understand the the position of the mayor and what's all entailed, the responsibilities. And I just think it's amazing what
Well,
you've
thank
done
you.
so far. And so I just want to thank you again. And I just want, so if you want to, so if people want to vote for you, you have a website. Which is
Sure.
your website? Share the website.
KarenForMayor.ca. Please get online. Phone number is 780-700-0201. And thank you for the opportunity.
So there you have it, Ms. Karen Leibovici, also running for mayor, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.